the person who's interviewing gets the job and they're so overwhelmed that they have been accepted, they're forgetting the fact that the employer was looking for help.
Right.
You're
not
feeling,
a favor.
you're solving a problem from them.
Correct.
And so they're willing to pay you for solving that problem. And all you have to do is present the fact that you can solve bigger problems, which will require a bigger rate of pay.
Welcome to the Push Podcast. Why push? Because a nudge is just too friendly.
And friend, we're here to help you get your shit together. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Janelle.
And we're the Copelands.
We've got 3 daughters, 2 businesses, a mortgage, and lots of responsibilities. So just like you, we're struggling to find that perfect balance of ambitious go-getter hustle while still staying present, loving our kids, and working on our relationship.
And doing the laundry, going to the grocery store. Oh, and don't forget being mindful.
All of the stuff. So if you're juggling all the things, but you're also trying to get to the next level, guess what? You're in the right place. So get ready to be pushed. Hey guys, welcome back to the Push Podcast. I'm Janelle.
And I'm Eddie.
And this is episode number 56. Did you know that?
56.
56?
What's 56? What kind of relevancy is 56? There's
Nothing.
56 nothings. Nothing. No.
Yeah. So back to episode 56.
Just an irrelevant number.
Today we're going to talk to you about knowing your worth and how to negotiate your value.
You said that very much like it's a talk show.
It is. This is a show. Welcome to the Push Podcast. I'm your host, Janelle. You are the other host. Welcome to the Push Podcast.
Yeah. So
You're speaking very much like it's your first time on the Push Podcast.
I know. I'm so you had a what in the world? Tell us about it.
Now you want to get back on track?
Yeah. Stay focused, lady.
So my what in the world hopefully stings some of you.
Oh.
It's like for those people that complain about everything, that you think like everything in your day is supposed to go perfectly as planned. And I just want to, I've shared this many times with you guys before. Eddie and I just don't give a shit about a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But there's something that happened today. I want to share the story. And I want to encourage some of you, because when this was happening to me, I thought of maybe 5 good, close friends and family members that would probably share this story all day long and be upset about this interaction. Okay, so the other day I went to Home Goods and I bought a bunch of stuff because we just remodeled our bathroom. What a freaking blessing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just telling you, I move about the world and my daily activities just blessed. If someone cuts me off, I don't give a shit, because maybe
I can give a shit less.
Maybe they were driving to a job interview and they haven't worked in 3 years. Maybe their kid got sick at school. I don't know. So I'm just going to let you go. So I go to Home Goods and I get this cashier, and she was pretty pleasant. And I said, I just want to thank you so much for your positive energy. And she goes, oh, it's the only way to be. She said, honey, I'm a teacher and I interact with a bunch of 5-year-olds on Zoom. And so I love human interaction, and I just love the stuff that you're buying and blah, blah, blah. She just found so much joy in what she was doing working at Home Goods, right? I'd say it's probably a minimum wage job. You're just wrapping my stuff in paper. She goes, so how's your day going? And I said, well, here's the thing. About 41 million people don't have homes right now, and I'm shopping at Home Goods. I'm good. I just am so blessed to be able to buy soap racks and loofahs and stupid shit at Home Goods, right? And towels. And so, I don't have anything to complain about. And the reality is, do I? Yeah. You guys don't know, but there's a lot of shit going on in the background with my family, just things. So I have things to complain about, but it doesn't really help, right? And so she goes, I don't spend too much time when people don't have good energy. I'm just like, oh, I'm going to pray for them. And I was like, oh God, me too. So this was the other day. Now I bought $150 worth of towels. Want to know why? Because we haven't bought towels since I was 20. When you and I got married, I brought these towels to our house. And I've owned them since I was almost a teenager. And so our towels are kind of janky and whatever. So it's time for new towels. What do you do that every 20 years, right? And so I was like, I'm going to go ham. I'm going to buy a bunch of $7.99 towels, and I'm going to restock my cabinets to match my new bathroom.
Just get rid of all of the
What
old
a
ones.
blessing, right? So I have nothing to be angry about. Long story short, here's a little tidbit for you. Buy your towels from Costco because they're way more luxurious. And although towels at Home Goods might look really, really cute and everyone in our house voted for Home Goods, I made the executive decision as the matriarch of this family to take all the shitty towels back today to Home Goods. And I just went ham at Costco. They were the same exact price, $7.99. And we have luxury towels. Every one of the girls has got out of the shower and said, these towels are really great. Yeah, well, you little bitch, those are not the ones that you voted on, but you're lucky that I made the decision.
And you know what? I used a towel.
And you loved it.
And it was great. I even folded it up and made it a pillow.
Yeah, because it's so fluffy.
It's very fluffy, very absorbent as well.
Okay, fast forward. I swear there's a point to this. There's lots of points in this. I hope you're catching them. So I go today and I go to the Home Goods in Glendora near our house. And this guy helps me. And his initials are JT, like Justin Timberlake. I'll just throw it out there. So he's nice
bringing
enough.
Sexy back.
He's nice enough.
Enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he wasn't the same interaction I got with the other lady, but I don't care, right?
Right.
I just need you to process this return. So I walk in with 4 bags of towels and whatever. So he goes, oh, okay. Not sure if I'm going to be able to help you because this was in purchase at our store. Pretty sure you can. So he goes, oh, okay, whatever. So he starts to like process the return. He's taking a really long time to scan everything, but I'm not impatient, even though I have places to go, whatever. He's doing his thing. And then halfway through scanning 18 items, he says, oh my God, my computer froze. This computer does this all the time. It's such a hassle. And I'm just thinking to myself.
He starts unloading like all his frustrations.
I'm thinking to myself, like, why did they put him on this register then? Like, if you know this happens all the time, it's not convenient for you, for me, for anyone, whatever. I'm just going to sit here. You know why? Because I start to think God is saving me from a car accident right now. Like if I try to push where I'm supposed to be and make everybody on my time frame, bad shit's going to happen to me. So if I'm supposed to sit right here and just be patient with JT, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
Okay. So I do that. So then he scans it again. And I'm trying to now at this point, we're maybe 10 minutes in or so, 12 minutes in. I'm trying to grab all of the towels, put all of the tags facing forward. So all he has to do is just quickly stand there and just scan, right? So he processes a return and he's like, okay, $101 is going to go back to you. And I'm like doing the math. No, bro. I bought a ton of towels at $7.99. That doesn't seem right? 101. And so I'm returning 18 items, all of which are over like almost $8. And so I'm doing some math and he's just like, oh yeah, hit the accept button. And I'm like, okay, he's kind of rushing me. I feel like maybe he knows he made a mistake, but whatever. It's my responsibility to just either catch it or not, right? So I could have let him maybe rush me off. I know so many people that would say that. Well, he was just rushing me. Well, it's my money. So I have to stop you from rushing me, right? So I said, hey, before I go, I just want to count these because it just doesn't add up for me. And he's like, okay, well, I returned everything. He's not having an attitude or anything, but I said, okay, well, let me just count. So I count the line items he gave me. There were only 14 things on there. I'm returning 18. So he missed 4 things that I didn't get my money back for. I don't care. I just want my money back, right?
Right.
So he goes to scan it. The computer crashes again. He goes, oh, this register always does it. And I'm just thinking like, this is so inefficient for this poor guy to be doing his job. Why is he on register 2, right? And this is unfortunate for me. But again, who cares? Whatever.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, these are the SKUs that you missed. So I pull the 4 because he couldn't figure it out. I said, these are the SKUs that you missed. So if you want to just go ahead, actually, I'm going to make things really simple for you. Put them on a gift card because I'm getting ready to spend that money right now. Just put it on a gift card. So it was close to $40. And I took my $40 gift card. I went, spent it, and that's it. That's the end of the story. The issue is that I know so many people that would have pissed them off and they would have shared that story 100 times.
Right.
This stupid guy, not saying you're stupid, JT, but they would have said things like, this stupid guy doesn't even know how to count, basic math, that's what's wrong with these millennials, like so many complaints, right?
Right.
He would have taken $40 from me. He was trying to rush me. All of that to me is like victim mentality. To me, if I feel like you're shortchanging me, it's my responsibility to stand up for myself.
But
if I feel like you're rushing me, it's my responsibility to advocate for myself and say, hold on, I need a minute, right? If I feel like you're doing your job inefficiently, the thing is, it doesn't really impact me. It's going to hinder you. Like you're going to be a cashier 25 years from now because you don't know how to do an effective job. That's not a me problem. That's a you problem. So why would I be mad at you?
But you know why people get mad, right?
Why?
People get mad at those types of situations because it's the cherry on top for them.
They're already mad at something.
I'm already upset. I'm already dissatisfied about life. I'm already dealing with the frustrations that maybe things are not panning out the way I wanted them to pan out today for the week or for the month. And what ends up happening is they take a small interaction like that is a human interaction, right?
It's a
I'm
mistake.
sure at some point, those same people who get very upset about those things have made same type of mistakes.
Absolutely.
Or they've made a catastrophic mistake and have hoped that someone has a bit of grace because they know that he's not intentionally trying to steal 4 items from you.
He didn't gain anything by not giving me my $40.
So it's just important, like if you're out there right now and you're listening to this and you find yourself worked up about something that's very small, you have to say, okay, is it this moment? Is it this thing right here? Or is it something about me?
Here's a question I ask myself often. Is this a me problem? Am I the problem? Because maybe I was the problem. Like I was the problem returning all this stuff. It was too much for you right now. So you know what? Let me take some responsibility. I'm going to organize these really well. I'm going to count these for you. Now, I know a lot of people that would say that's not my job. Well, it is if it's your money and someone else is struggling. So the point of this is, one, don't let things like this ruin your whole day. I actually got a kick out of it because I was like, ooh, I saved myself $40.
Right.
It was my money, but I still advocated for myself. I saved it and I'm not mad at him. Like he did the best job he could. If my computer kept crashing, I'd be pissed too. And I'd probably be really inefficient. Right?
I think people are okay with outsourcing responsibility. Like it's his responsibility to get it right. Yeah, he shares.
Rude. He didn't know.
Right, he shares the responsibility of doing his job well, but it's your responsibility to make sure that, hey, I'm going to read my receipt. I'm going to see. And sometimes you don't take that responsibility. I can't tell you every time I read my receipt. I'm pretty sure
we don't even check our bank statements.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone has cheated me out of a return at some point because I don't really pay attention to it. But it's not their fault.
It's yours for not checking.
Right. And so I think that those are things that I think you have to start looking at, the frustrations, the things that piss you off, that set you off over the top. And you got to say, am I outsourcing responsibility here? Like it could be, it's his fault, right? But it's still your responsibility to make sure that you got everything accounted for.
And so the reason this is important is because the Push podcast is designed to give you different perspectives about life so that you can push through things that are small and minor and minute. But I just want to ask you, would you let something like that really piss you off and ruin your day? I know you're going to say no, but it's probably because the way I asked you the question. So just as you're moving about life, ask yourself like, okay, this isn't my fault, but could it be my responsibility? Could I make this interaction a little more pleasant? So that's my what in the world.
So just so that we get this clear, because I was mesmerized by the number 56, right? Because this is episode 56.
Why?
And so I just Googled, right, the importance of the number 56.
Okay.
And you know what came up?
No, I don't.
Almost nothing. But what is very significant, it came up, is that the number, this is important.
Well,
it symbolizes teamwork, coexistence, family, relationships, adventure, and expression of freedom. 56.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
If it would have told you some other shit, I wonder if you'd be excited about that too. So moving on, today we're going to talk to you about knowing your worth and how to navigate your value. Wait, sorry. Navigate. No, Novocaine. Knowing your worth and how to negotiate your value. The reason this is important is because you always hear so many people like complain about, I'm not being paid what I think that I deserve.
Yep.
Especially in the business world, like a lot of creative women, I will say, we devalue like our worth and we like want to close the sale so bad that we'll be like, oh, well, how much do you want to pay for this? Right. But this particular topic is relevant for anyone who's ever applied for a job and tried to negotiate your salary. Because our oldest daughter, Jasmine, she's 19. We had so many great conversations with her this week. She's looking for a job. Yeah. She's been interviewing. And even the companies that she doesn't want to work for, that she applied to out of desperation. We told her she had to go on those interviews because it's good practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the first lesson. What are you doing to be in practice of something that will make you better?
And sometimes you are highly qualified and you have a tremendous amount of skill sets, but you are awful with telling a story. You're awful in the interview settings. And you have to realize that in that process, someone's assessing your value based on what they're telling you.
Based on your ability to articulate. That's part of the negotiation.
They may hire you, but because of your interview, they're like, we're going to offer you this.
Right. Okay, so there's a couple of things. Number one, I haven't been on an interview in a very long time because I've owned my own business, right? So if I had the opportunity to be interviewed, I'd probably at this point be a little nervous and feel like, oh my God, honey, I need you to mock interview me because I don't know that I would really be exceptional. I'm out of practice, right? And then nextly, is that a word? Remember when my sister Jessica worked or lived with us? She had just finished nursing school. She was applying, just like our daughter's applying. And we were doing mock interviews with her. And we were like, no, answer like this. Nope, don't say that, say this. So we were totally preparing her. She went right out of nursing school, applied for this like management position, nailed the friggin' interview, and then wound up being way in over her head.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about the fact that you could over practice, be over prepared, but you still have to be the one.
Show up.
Like you still got to know, oh shit, am I really qualified for this? Right. So that's important that you understand we're not just like giving everybody the answers to the questions.
Yeah.
We really want you to be prepared for what you're signing up for. We're also talking about this because Copeland Inc., our online business coaching business, is hiring. We're looking for a virtual assistant. It's basically like an executive personal assistant, but you're virtually working from home, just like the rest of the world right now. We need you to do basic tasks online, right? Like scheduling, managing, calendar, tasks, like organization,
understanding
type stuff,
certain systems that help operate
learning
the business.
Systems that you might not be familiar with, but that's how we function our job. But those are basic requirements for any job that you go to. Like if you started working for Target tomorrow, you don't know how to use their POS system, you're going to have to learn that shit, right? So we don't so much care about the systems. We care about what you can bring to the team.
Yeah.
So do you have a great, strong personality? Are you a great person with excited ideas? Do you articulate yourself well? Do you have enthusiasm while you're being interviewed? So we interviewed a couple of people for these positions, and then we job offered one of them, let's just say. And let's just say she was like, oh, I'm not really happy with making that per hour. And I was like, okay, well, based on the position, this is kind of like a lot. Like what we're offering, we need you to do basic stuff. Like you guys, I'm talking systems like managing PayPal invoices, like, you know, updating stuff on maybe Facebook, like basic kind of stuff. And so two people were like, oh, I think the position's not paying enough.
Yeah. And it was interesting is that they didn't just say, hey, they just basically all they said was, oh, I want to make more.
Right.
Right. They didn't necessarily negotiate. And so I want to make that really clear. They just said, oh, I was anticipating more. Let me just be real clear. That's not negotiating.
That's not.
Negotiating is...
That's also not advocating for yourself.
Right.
That's not selling yourself.
Absolutely.
That's not convincing someone you're worth it.
Right. You're not presenting any type of facts or any type of skills or anything that you can bring to the table that makes someone say, oh, wow, I didn't capture that in your interview. That's something for us to really think about. Let us go think about that. And so before we really get into that, I want to ask you, what do you think what fears do people have around negotiating?
Well, the first thing I think that people need to know, you, our friends, our listeners, is that when you go on a job interview, your sole purpose is to sell yourself.
Yep.
Period. And so we were teaching our daughter, like, talk about the fact that you grew up in a family business. Talk about the fact that customer service has been ingrained in you since you were 8. Talk about the fact that even though it's not job experience, you know how to mop a floor. You know how to, even if these are not qualifications that Target might be looking for, this will demonstrate your work ethic.
Right. Your value.
Right. And so then we're also talking to her about at the end of the interview, your last question should be, Is there any feedback that you can provide for me? How do you think the interview went? Did I do okay? Like, just ask those questions. Why? Because most people are too freaking scared and they want the interview to be over and they want to run out of there. But asking the interviewer, hey, how did I do? Do you have any like constructive feedback for me? Is there anything that you think that I didn't convey in this interview that you might be looking for in a candidate? It gives you that last little push to have a conversation with someone who's going to be making a decision of whether you're a good enough candidate.
Yeah. And
that's part of negotiating, though.
And I think that
selling yourself.
I think that also when you finish something like that, when you think about presenting yourself, a good question also is, what could I expect in this position that we didn't cover in these questions?
Right.
And because what happens is that the person interviewing is usually reading an interview sheet, basically, that has questions on it that they're supposed to ask. And then there's a reality to the position that maybe that person has a disconnect with when it comes to the question. Mm-hmm. Asking that question will allow someone to go, oh, wow. Well, one of the things you can expect, and like Jasmine dealt with this, one of the things you can expect is very little customer interaction, being able to have to be self-motivated, and also knowing that you're going to have to work with your peers, and your peers are going to have different expectations of what they do for their work.
Your peers are going to have different attitudes.
And so what that allows you to do is to say, oh, wow, okay, one of the things that I've done in the past is this, this, and this. And you start to explain how you can fit into that reality, and that increases your value. But
or how you can't. Like you could say, for me, someone like what you just described, oh, you're going to really not have a ton of interaction with customers. That's kind of a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work independently on your own. I kind of like working in a team, right?
Right.
So part of negotiating is identifying like, oh, this isn't really a good fit for me too, right?
But that's
However,
that's where I want to talk.
So if you told me that, I'd say, oh, wow, that's a little alarming for me because I really excel in customer service.
Right. And that's really where I wanted to go with that. Is what people have to realize, and if you're listening to this and you're trying to get more money in your career, you're trying to maybe negotiate in business, the reality is a high performer is always interviewing the business or the company that they're trying to join. And it's a two-way street.
Right.
And so what Janelle just said is so important. If I'm a high performer and let's just say I feel like I'm an executive level, or maybe I just feel like, hey, my aspirations are to get to that level, I'm not just going to I'm not just going to take what you give me. I'm interviewing you to see, am I going to be in a situation where my skills are going to be suited best in the position that you're trying to offer me? And so a lot of times, like with our daughter, like she was willing to accept whatever,
right?
Because obviously this is like her second or third job.
Yeah, she also has no experience.
It's just no experience.
Someone like me, though, I will tell you, like if you guys were hiring for whatever company, I strongly believe that I would be a valuable asset to any organization based on my perspective, my positive attitude, my ability to work in a team, based on my hard work ethic.
And you may have just as many questions for them as they have for you.
I'm going to have tons of questions, right?
So that right there, when you're asking really tough questions, it raises your value.
It does.
Because people go, oh, wow, this person...
They're no dummy.
They're no dummy. They're
here to play.
Now I feel like I'm selling this job to them.
She wants to contribute, right? So here were a couple of issues this week while we were interviewing potential team members, right? So one girl says, okay, well, I'd like to accept the offer. It's a little lower than I thought. And I said, okay, well, sell me on why you think it should be worth more. Well, that's the going rate. And okay, that's not a solid answer, right? No. So then I start negotiating. I'll tell you what, I'll offer you what I feel is fair based on the fact that I don't know you. I don't know what you're capable of. And then in 90 days, which, we're going to be in contact every single day. You're my personal assistant.
Right.
But in 90 days, we'll sit down and reevaluate a potential $5 increase. That's a lot of money, right? And so I'm going to be bouncing ideas off of you. I'm going to be waiting for your contribution. Like I'm looking for someone personally and professionally who can contribute more than I care about like your ability to maneuver through online systems, right?
Yeah.
What I said many, many, many times was, listen, this is a position. We're not the kind of company that just wants to hire someone to fill a position. we're making sure that this is a good fit. We are a good fit for you. So if you are looking for employers who want to push you to grow, if you're looking for the opportunity to leverage your resourcefulness, if you're looking for the opportunity to grow and learn about systems and softwares that you probably don't know about, 90 days from now, even if you decide to walk away, you're going to be way better of a position to garner the wage that you're trying to negotiate with me. What do you say? And she said, yeah, I think that's great. So I sold her on the fact that in 90 days, I'd be willing to work with her, right?
Right.
Let's reevaluate. So she decided she was up for the challenge. And then she trained for 2 weeks and then said, this is just way more than I thought.
Right. She was in over her head.
Right. Which is great. And I respect that. I applaud that. I appreciate if you're listening right now, this is not a dig on you. This is hopefully, to help other people. You negotiated with me saying you were commanding more. I negotiated with you and convinced you to give it a shot. And then you wound up saying, this is way too much for me. I'm not prepared. I don't know how to do this. So had I just said, okay, I'm going to throw money at you, I would have made a bad investment as an employer.
Let's just back up. So rewind a little bit. And I think this is what so for people who are listening, if you're
this
listening
is like my sister though, right?
If you're trying to negotiate something, right? And
know your boundaries.
Know your boundaries. But here's the thing. Here's where she fell short. She didn't do her homework.
Right.
Right. There's no negotiating out there if you don't know the company.
Okay.
If she was to say, hey, I watched your guys' videos.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to your podcast. Mm-hmm. I understand what you guys are trying to do.
I see what you're doing on social media.
Yeah, I see what you're doing on social media. I feel like I can step in. I can really help you with these things.
Here are some ideas.
Here's some ideas. And so I appreciate the generous offer,
mm-hmm.
but what I'm planning on doing, I feel like I'm going to help your business.
Right.
And
I'm bringing so much to the table.
Yeah, I'm willing to hear other offers that you have in mind.
Right.
And here's one of the key things about negotiating is the person, you have to put the ownership on the employer
mm-hmm.
to give you a different rate or whatever the pay is. You don't want to throw out a number because you have no idea if you're too short
mm-hmm.
or maybe if you're too high. So if she would have said, well, I was thinking more like $20 to $18 an hour, and we were thinking, well, based on what you just told us, we're willing to pay you $25.
Right.
Sold. Right. So you almost have to say, I'm willing to hear different offers
mm-hmm.
if you have it in mind.
Okay. So that brings me back to, well, there's a couple things that you hit right there. My sister Jessica, the example I gave you initially was she hit the interview out of the park, negotiated a good salary, was in over her head. That's what happened to this girl. So having the ability to go back, be honest, quickly rip off the Band-Aid and say, hey, here's the thing. I decided to move on. It's not a good fit for me. I'm so sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. It is what it is. Move on. And luckily, that's what our girl did. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
The next thing I want to talk to you about, though, is negotiating a salary. So Jasmine she does an interview for 2 places. And she winds up saying, oh my God, I got the job. And I'm like, that's awesome. What's your rate of pay? And she's like, I don't know yet. What? But I start tomorrow. What? Girl, I said, all you have to say is, okay, can we talk about compensation? Right? So like, let's say that it's Target and they say, oh, we're going to start you at $14 an hour. We trained her to say, okay, perfect. Is that negotiable?
Why do you think she didn't?
Jasmine?
Yeah.
Because she hasn't worked in 9 months and she was excited to just get an offer.
But most people don't because they feel like they're going to ruin their relationship if I ask about money.
Or you're going to ruin the opportunity.
Yeah, and that's just
so there's a way.
fallacy.
Like if someone says, oh, hey, welcome to the team. We want to offer you $14 an hour or $30,000 a year, whatever it is. And you say, that's so awesome. I'm really humbled by your generous offer. However, is it negotiable? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, damn, you just put that back on the employer, right?
But also that's when you have to present what you know.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so again, back to Jasmine, is that negotiable? Because based on my experience, based on the fact that I've been in the food industry, based on the fact that I have 5 years of customer service, based on the fact that I grew up in a family business, based on the fact, right? So you're just spewing out all of these facts.
Right.
I'd like to know if that's negotiable.
Yeah. I would love to hear other offers you have.
Yeah. Well, shit. If I'm interviewing you, I'm like, this little girl, like she's coming correct.
Right. Absolutely.
I definitely am willing to pay her more then someone who is going to probably require a lot for me to pull them out of their shell. I'm going to probably see that maybe another candidate can't advocate for themselves as well as maybe our daughter. So these are all things that you can't be afraid to ask, hey, can we negotiate that?
Yeah. And I think what ends up happening as well is that people don't see themselves as highly valued. Mm-hmm. They feel like they're doing the job. The person who's hiring them is doing them a favor, right? Here's the thing. They are looking for help.
Right.
You were doing them a favor by coming correct and being well qualified. The person offering you a job, and here's the thing. That's a hard thing to think about, because I think any job you think, oh my God, they're doing me a favor, they're hiring me.
Well, I don't like the word favor, so I disagree.
Right. But here's the thing. No, they're not. What I'm saying is that I think oftentimes the person who's interviewing gets the job and they're so overwhelmed that they have been accepted. Mm-hmm. They're forgetting the fact that the employer was looking for help.
Right.
You're you're solving a problem from them.
Correct.
And so they're willing to pay you for solving that problem. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is present the fact that you can solve bigger problems, which will require a bigger rate of pay. Mm-hmm. And I think people need to understand that. And a lot of it has to do with your self-esteem and how you see yourself as a person of value.
I see myself as a tremendous value and
because
asset
you feel
to any
not only do
organization.
you see yourself as a person of value, you see yourself as a person as a game changer.
Right.
Once you get there, you're going to make an impact on the entire environment.
Can I just tell you though, because I don't want people to hear this and think oh, she's got a ton of confidence and I'm not like that. Let me tell you. When I was in my 20s, I interviewed for a management position that, by the way, I was recruited for, okay? I was recruited for because I had a good track record with another company, but the person that interviewed me, the decision maker, wasn't quite sure because I didn't really have the experience that another candidate had.
You showed more upside than experience.
Right. Yeah. So what they did, though, these two managers, who shall remain anonymous, who we're still friends with to this day, wound up placing a wager on me, one bet on me, and said, I like her personality. She seems like she'll learn. She's a go-getter. The other one, who I have a little bit of salt in my voice towards, decided he wanted to hire the more qualified candidate because she had more experience than I did, but didn't have the personality that I did. Right. So the bet was...
And can't you say this? What? Not personality, upside. Like you show the ability that you can go further.
I would learn.
Yeah, you had a larger cap.
I would impact people. I'd get them excited, right? She didn't possess that, but she had all the knowledge that I didn't have. In this particular industry, it was consumer electronics, and I knew how to use my cell phone, and that was it. This other person knew all about home theater systems and washing machines and all this shit. That was super intimidating for me, but I knew about leadership and people skills and soft skills, right? Yeah. So anyways, these two managers, you guys, decided that they were going to place a literal wager and hire both of us and have us compete for the one position.
Right.
So I find this out and it sets me on fire. And I'm like, I will beat her. I will beat her by any means necessary. I wound up leaving this job every day for a week crying because I literally didn't know anything about appliances or computers or whatever. And then I decided to get my shit together and spend my days off at The Good Guys, which was a competitor, learning everything I could about home theater systems and computers and blah, 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 so that I could gain a little bit more confidence and feel like I could start letting my personality and my skills and attributes shine through while maybe answering some questions, right?
Yeah.
And I killed her.
Yeah.
Like not literally murdered her, but I did murder her. I outshined this other candidate. Hungry. I wanted it so bad, mostly because I knew that the odds were stacked against me. So I want you to understand that. Like I wasn't born with tons of confidence. I was the underdog in that situation. And I was like, I'll be damned if I'm going to lose this. I want this more. Right. And I'm usually more hungry than anybody that I get put against. Yeah. So I'm going to beat you every time because I won't take no for an answer.
And here's the thing, a couple things. One, we live in a place, in a country where value is invisible, right? And you can name your price and people can choose not to, or they can buy it, right? So we're watching the show the other day, and I'm going to get back to what the story you just talked about.
Okay.
We're watching a show the other day about home improvement. So this lady is doing these kitchen makeovers.
Loved it.
Right? And then she starts getting really good. And so then she starts doing full house remodels, right? And so she's going to these antique stores where basically they collect all of these like
old
relics,
artifacts.
Artifacts. And that don't necessarily, they're not like, hey, this has been manufactured yesterday and I know how much it costs. And so the value is very arbitrary. It's like whatever I think it is.
So this was a cabinet from China from the 18th century.
Right.
I mean, the shit looked old, but
old,
whatever.
Yeah. And
so then she said, how much for this? He goes, $3,600.
Yeah. He just picks a number out of thin fucking air.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, but what I'm saying is either way, whether or not he followed the trends of something that is a one-of-a-kind antique and said, no, he didn't. He just made up a price.
You don't know that, but go ahead.
Okay, well,
make your point.
Somebody made up a price.
Okay, $3,600.
Yeah, so someone made up a price and she goes, oh, can I get my discount? And so then he lowers it by half.
He goes, $1,800.
$1,800.
She goes, okay, sold.
Right, which taught me, which I've learned before because of you, that if you name your price and you know your value, someone's going to be willing to pay for it.
Somebody will.
Right? So there's one time that we're together, we're laying in bed, 20 years, whatever, how many years ago, 15 years ago.
Okay.
And you sit there and you ask our boss.
Okay, wait, time out because you're not telling the story right. Wait, hold on.
I'm going to
let you finish. We worked for the same company, Eddie and I.
Right.
We had the same bosses, the two guys that put me and the other girl that were competing against each other that I wasn't supposed to know about, but I did. I found out that the other girl made $30,000 more than I did. And I was on fire about that. So that was one of the reasons why I was like, oh, I'm going to bury and destroy this woman. Right.
Like you didn't
but
go
I never said anything. I never complained.
You outperformed.
I outperformed her ass. Okay.
Can we just, now, that's important. Like sometimes people hear about other people making more money and they don't realize this is a capitalistic society, right? Some people are going to do the same job as you and make more because they just valued themselves at a greater rate, right? Or someone else saw them as more valuable. And they could be wrong. Right. Like you proved them wrong.
So when you and I started dating, it was very important to me that we did not discuss our pay. Why? We did the same exact job.
Right.
You had started from the bottom with this company, worked your way up. Yep. I was an outside recruit, so I already knew I made more money than you.
Well, at the time, we made the same.
Okay, well.
And then you said.
So what's the number one thing I tell our kids about asking questions?
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Okay. Have I ever had a closed mouth?
Well, no, everyone knows that. If you listen to the podcast, never has closed mouth.
So,
but here's the thing. So she asked for a $10,000 raise.
Okay.
Not because it was her birthday, not because it was a Christmas bonus, just because it was a Wednesday and she felt I'm worth more.
Yeah,
right?
well, because I had outperformed you.
I know, I'm just being funny. But she's outperformed her current
competitor,
right? For me, I'm coming from a place I worked, like you said, I worked all my up. I was grateful for the money that I was getting because I had never seen that money before.
Right.
And I didn't understand that you can ask for more money.
Well, I'm sorry your mom didn't teach you
that. And I would say that I was a high performing manager.
You
right?
were.
We teamed up
really
and we teamed up and did a lot of amazing things. And then she gets the call back and says, yeah, we got it approved. We got you the $10,000. And I'm laying right next to her and I'm like, what are you talking about? What is happening?
I'm like, you don't really want to know. You shouldn't ask questions. Might cause an argument. It
didn't cause an argument.
Right. But the reality was with one question, one request and negotiation skills and a track record to back it up, I got a call saying that I got a $10,000 raise.
And here's the thing. I want everyone to listen to this.
Wednesday.
She wasn't fearless that she was going to ruin in a relationship.
Nope.
Right? Because it doesn't happen that way. You think, and I feel that sometimes, like if I ask for money, will these people look at me wrong? No, the reality is they're going to see that you feel like you're worth something and you're not going to do it in a disrespectful way, but you're going to do it in a way that's about business.
Right.
And I think that was something that taught me like, oh, wow. And so what I did like the next week, I was like, hey, I want to take a position for $10,000 more.
Okay. So with that said, though, I hope you got a kick out of that story because that's totally true. But with that said, I want to let you know that there are going rates for certain positions because, for example, I have owned and managed the Cake Mamas for 10 years. it's a food industry, food service position, right? There's no way that even if you had a culinary pastry degree and you trained and with the world's most world-renowned pastry chefs, there's no way that my small family business could afford to pay you $40 an hour just because you felt that that's what you were worth.
And can we just clarify that?
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean that job or that function won't pay $40. You're
not
just
at
not
a small
paying
business,
that. Right. You're
so
not valuing that much. So if you want to
make $40 an hour in the food service industry, that's like a
better go to Vegas.
Go to Vegas.
And you get your name on a billboard.
Become a top-notch, chef. But
and make a lot more
everybody knows food service kind of sucks because you get a culinary degree, pastry degree, whatever. And most bakeries are just not able to sell pastries for $25 per croissant to be able to pay their employees $40 an hour, $20, $30 an hour, plus benefits, time off, retirement, 401k. It's just not something that particular industry commands.
Right.
Or warrants, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to be very, very, very clear that when you're negotiating a salary, like I asked for $10,000 more because I found out that managers that worked for the same company made more than I was offered. I was definitely lowballed. So I asked for a $10,000 raise and then I asked for more money after that, right? But that's because it was like apparent that I was lowballed, right? Mm-hmm. If you're working at a Target, let's just say, and you make $15 an hour and you didn't do a good job during the interview process of negotiating your salary and making sure that you landed a position that warranted higher compensation, then you can't really complain about that. Right? Because absolutely. I want to be very clear that some statistic like 85% of Americans think that they are underpaid for what they do.
Right.
If you work at Starbucks and your job is to help customers and make coffee, do you wish you made $30 an hour because you're interacting with more Karens in a day than you wish that you had to? Of course. The reality is Starbucks is not paying $30 an hour to make coffee.
And let me just clarify that too, because I think that's so important. Like, you're paid based on what the market can bear, right? And so if
you're not paid based on the cost of living has gone up and bread's more expensive.
If I work at this Starbucks and I make $15 and it's a slow Starbucks, and then I work at down the street that's a fast-paced Starbucks, I'm getting paid the same because I'm doing the same work. I'm just having to do it more. Right. And so it's important for you to know that, you have to make sure you're not going crazy and being unreasonable with your negotiation. You have to realize is that, okay, so the work that I'm doing, am I easily replaced? And what I mean by that is and this is not a knock on anyone that works for Starbucks or for Target, but if I work for Target and I'm hanging clothes onto a hanger in the merchandising area, can I easily find someone to do that job? Yes, because it doesn't take a certain skill set to do that. Now, what happens is that if it's easy to replace, then it lowers the price of what that particular role pays. When you get into situations where you're harder to replace, the negotiation changes, but also the pay changes completely.
So I want to clarify.
If I say that, like, I bring something to the table that no one else can bring, and I'm able to define that, I'm able to articulate that, and I'm taking on a role that the talent and skill, it's endless on what you can do, then I'm going to get paid more because of that.
Well, let me give you an example. Taking what you said about the Target, like, hey, I work in the clothing department, I'm putting stuff on hangers, I'm cleaning out the dressing room, like that's going to warrant only,
whatever.
Let's say $17 an hour is the max that they'd be willing to pay somebody for that, right?
And I just want to be clear, that's not the value. That's not your internal value.
Not your value. That's the job you're choosing to do. That's paying your bills.
It's the job, not your internal value.
Right.
Yeah.
So now let's just say that you are also a marketing student in college. And you're learning so much about, let's just say human resources. You're learning about hiring and interviewing and training. And so now you start to take on more of a role and like, hey, Eddie, we hired these new seasonal people. And you're like, I'd love to welcome them in with open arms. Like, I'd like to take point on their training.
Right.
You start to really show that what you're learning in college can apply to what you're doing in your role. Damn.
And then you get harder and harder to replace.
Okay. So now you're hard to replace. We cannot lose Eddie. We know that he's only making 17. Now he's at $18 an hour, but that's the max cap. Like our district manager's already mad at us because we pay you that. And really all you do is just put stuff on hangers, right? You just do it really well and the team loves you. So now we've come to a crossroads now where you have outgrown your job, right? You still come to work, you do it, you've outperformed, but now your skills and talents and knowledge have now exceeded the role that you're in. What do? You go on the corporate website for Target and you start looking at human resources positions, and now there's opportunity for growth and expansion. And now let's just say you want to get married, you want a 401k. Now's the time for you to take on a bigger responsibility in exchange for more compensation.
But here's the thing. People are not willing to do that.
Right.
People are willing to only do their job.
Right.
Right. I want you to pay me more for doing the job that you hired me to do within the job description that will follow it. And then they're wondering and they're upset. This is why 85% of Americans think that they're underpaid, is because they're thinking, because I've been here for a long time, because I know how to do the job, or because I do my job well, I should get paid more.
But you do your job well is what you signed up to get paid for.
We expect that, right? We expect you to do your job really well. That's why you get the 3%.
You shouldn't work here.
That's why you get the 3% raise every year, because we feel like because you're still here, we're going to give you a little more money.
But I will say that the younger generation these days, I don't want to sound old, so if you're guilty of this, check yourself. But the younger generation is like, well, I feel like if I'm doing a better job than everyone else, I should get paid more. Maybe the manager's not doing a very good job of firing the people that are not doing their job,
but also,
or holding them accountable or training them or whatever.
When you outperform,
but when you are doing your job within the job description, not going above and beyond, so like this younger generation thinks like I do a better job than everyone else who sucks. And also like I probably made this company a bunch of money.
Right. And that's where you have to stop, because here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you do your job better than everyone else. That gets you in the game for a promotion. That gets you into the game for more responsibility. You have to outperform your role. And then you have to look at how do I start doing the other person's job that gets paid more. And that's where people go, oh, I'm not paid to do that. It's not one of my biggest pet peeve is that's not my job. That drives me up the wall. I go, it will never be your job if it's not your job.
And you're also always going to be broke if you have the mentality of that's not my job. You have to, like, I'm not getting paid for that.
Like Janelle just said, when I first got to this company, the company we worked at together, I started seasonal. And part-time. And in a year and a half, I was a sales manager of that store. You only do that when you do more than what's required of you.
Right.
And not only do you do that, but you stay a little bit longer. I remember
clocking out.
I would clock out and go back to work.
Right.
Because I couldn't have overtime. Because I wanted it more than anyone else. Right.
You're hungry.
You're hungry. And so when you talk about negotiating your value and all those kind of things, you have to ask yourself, what is your value and what are you willing to do that no one else is willing to do so that you can have the things that other people don't have?
Right.
And that's a big one.
Here's another one I want to talk about, though, is when your life changes or your life circumstances change, and now all of a sudden you go to your employer and it's now your employer's problem. So I spoke about this in a previous episode. I can't remember what episode it was, but someone came to me and said, hey, so, my 30th birthday's coming up. I've been here for 2 years. I really want to buy a house with my wife. And I really want to I want some more stability. I want to work for a company that has healthcare options, paid time off, holiday time, whatever, 401k. And I was like, my response was like, wow, that's really awesome. What can I do to help you, perfect your resume? Because you just basically
and has your skills.
You outworked yourself from this current position. I can't even let you go back in there and work now because I know that you're upset, right?
Well, your skills hasn't even matched your lifestyle you want.
But so I said, well, I get that you're 30 now, but does that mean, she goes, well, I'm an adult. Like I want to earn more now. And I go, so what's your skill set? Like now that you're 30, is there a new skill? And she goes, well, I've gotten way better at the stuff that I do over the last few years. And you're right, you have, But basically, everything you just ran down the list of, my company doesn't offer that. I'm not in a position to offer that. So I don't think this is a good company for you to work for anymore if that's the type of life that you're trying to, live. However, I want to give you some feedback because I love you. And just as a friend, if you're saying your life circumstances and expectations have changed, then you also have to change what you're doing every day. Mm-hmm. You've got to either go to school, you've got to become a dental hygienist, you've got to go to nursing school, you've got to get your broker's license, your real estate license. Like if you're looking to make a certain amount of money, you have to take on a position that warrants making more money. But there are certain jobs that just you're going to outgrow. Like McDonald's pays minimum wage because it's not designed for you to be there until you retire.
Right.
It's just not.
It's not a mastery position.
Right. So you can start there, build a foundation, and then your job in life is to keep adding tools to your tool belt so you can increase the value of your worth so that you can command a higher rate of pay.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting that some people are just like, well, working at Carl's Jr. is such hard work and they only pay their employees $15 an hour. It's usually for entry-level people that have never even had a job before. When I started hiring entry-level 17-year-olds with no job experience, I got to tell you, secretly, I wish that they would have paid me because I was giving you lifelong training that's going to help you be better for another company, that's going to help you earn a higher rate of pay after you leave here. Some of the girls I hired had never mopped a floor in their life.
Yeah.
They had never exchanged hundreds or thousands of dollars with any human being ever in history. I taught them negotiation skills. I taught them communication skills. I taught them confidence. I taught them how to clean. I taught them how to interact with the public, right? Those are things that your first job provides for you.
Yeah.
And so sometimes what you're getting and who you can become is not always in the form of compensation. And so that's the last point that I want to leave you with. Eddie and I are very much of sound mind that when we take on a position of any rate of pay, we're more interested in who we're going to become working for that organization or contributing to that organization than we really are what the pay is going to be.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
And because I know that
if Apple
the pay
offers you a position that's a high level elite position, you're going to be intrigued by being able to impact people in that organization as a leader, right?
Right.
And then you can have room to negotiate your rate of pay or whatever it may be. But there's going to be certain positions in life that are opportunities that come to you that you have to ask yourself, maybe the pay isn't exactly what I want, but what could I become? What skills can I develop? How will this help me in the future if I do decide to sign up for this position?
Absolutely. And then one of the things I'll leave you with this. One of the things we talk about our students when it comes to entrepreneurship is like you are paid based on the problems that you solve.
Right.
No different than if you're part of a career. You're paid on, you can make a career and you can have a really great salary solving problems.
Right.
But you won't become wealthy until you start creating problems. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by creating problems is that you bring things to the table. You create ideas that people have to solve and manifest and bring to the table. You inspire people to want more. And so now they have a problem because now they're trying to aspire for more things in their career. Like all of those things bring in a tremendous amount of wealth in dollars and also in knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I think that's super important for people to realize is that when you think about right now, as you're listening to the Push podcast, what problems are you creating in your position? And I'm not saying that you're costing people money. What I'm talking about is problems like I am elevating everyone. And so now as I elevate everyone, now we have to figure out where we're going to go next. That's a big problem. And all of a sudden, that is what brings a lot of wealth.
When you say creating a problem, I feel like you have to clarify that because I think an employee would say, create a problem. Like you want me to cause issues at work with my
innovation.
coworkers?
So I want people to realize is innovation is about creating problems. Anytime you come up with an idea, you have to now solve it from a standpoint of how do I make this become reality? Mm-hmm. That's called creating a problem. For example, Steve Jobs created a problem when he came out with the iPhone, because now people who didn't think that they needed anything, like didn't even know it exists, now they had to have it. So now they have to buy it. So for entrepreneurs, when you create something people have to have, you're a problem creator. In the workforce, if you come up with an idea of how we can operate differently and how we can be more efficient, how we can make more money, all of a sudden now you've created problems for people to say, okay, now we have to create that system. We have to bring it to the table.
We have to find the solution.
We have to find a way to make it happen. That's an amazing idea.
But it doesn't mean like create a bunch of problems and report stuff. Like, hey, just to let you know, my computer breaks every 5 minutes. Like, okay, I just want to clarify, because when you say be a problem.
No, I didn't say be a problem. I said create problems like from innovation that need to be solved, right? Instead of just solving the problem, meaning doing your job every single day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, last thing, when we're working with our entrepreneurs, our business owner clients, the one thing that I want you to be careful of the language, which you kind of used earlier, I want to clarify. Know that as an employee, you're not doing your employer a favor. Like, I hate, if you're a boss, I don't want you to ask your employees, hey, can you do me a favor? You're not asking someone to do you a favor because you're paying them to be there. So I think the language is really important. If you're the kind of boss that says like, hey, can you do me a favor and come in tomorrow? Well, I'm not really doing you a favor. I'm actually being paid to do this. So be careful with your language as an employer, and also be careful with your language as an employee. If you work for a boss that's always like, oh yeah, remember when you did me that favor, or I did you a favor, like just know that that word shouldn't really be used in business, because if you're on the clock being paid to do something, you're being paid. It's not a favor. A favor is, hey, I got to run to the grocery store. Can you come over to my house and watch my kid for 20 minutes? That's a favor. For free, right? But hiring a babysitter to come over every Thursday so you can have a date night, that's not a favor. That's a job.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important, especially for the female entrepreneurs out there. A lot of times your employees don't respect you, or you don't have that authoritative presence that you should, because you're using really simple words like favor.
Yeah.
And it feels good, but it's not. Your job's not to make things feel good. And you don't have to say, hey, can you go do that? You can say, hey, when you're done with that, do you think you could take a look at this or whatever? Do you think you could add this to your task list? Awesome. Thank you. But I'm not asking you to do a favor.
Yeah, that's great.
Don't do me any favors, Eddie.
Do me any favors. Just kidding. But this is a great conversation. I think that we'll probably have to go back to this, because I think what people will be left with is that, well, okay, the self-esteem portion of it.
Yeah.
Like people not feeling
we need another
like,
episode on confidence.
Yeah, that they're not worth it. And they don't ask for it because they feel like they're barely worth what they've been offered. And I think that we have to help crack the code for people.
I got it. Let's do it. Next episode.
Peace.
All about confidence and your worth.
Thank you for listening to the Push Podcast. Hey, we want to hear from you. So if you have a question, or there's a particular topic that you want us to tackle and you want us to help you push through, you got to do something for us. You got to go to Apple Podcasts and you got to leave a rating and a review. And in that review, go ahead and leave that question with your Instagram handle so that we can shout you out when we actually answer the question. And we'll talk about that on the podcast and make sure that, hey, this particular podcast is made for you. So leave a rating, leave a review, leave your handle, and until next time, push through.